You don't preach the
Yes.
gospel to just other people, you preach it to yourself. So just kind of reiterating things and understanding subluxation is huge, because when you get what subluxation is, it's not about pain, it's about function.
Hmm.
And so a subluxation is when a vertebral body misaligns and goes out of place.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with the Chiro. Guess who's back with us? Dr. Tyler Sandstrom. Thanks for joining us again today.
We're back. We're back.
We're ready to do this, to keep plugging through the dirty dozen, the 12 steps, the 12 things you need to know to be healthy. First and foremost, before we start in, this is definitely for all of our listeners. If you have never been into one of our offices before, if you have never had chiropractic care, now is the time, because all you have to do is call into one of our 4 offices, mention that you heard this special on the podcast, and you will get your entire first visit for $47. So that is your consultation, your x-rays, your doctor's report, and your first adjustment, all for $47. So if you're on the fence, this is such a killer deal. Like, go make the phone call, send us a message. We would love to get you plugged into one of the offices. So without further ado, let's get into it. Numbers 5 and 6 is what we're going to ring through today. So number 5 is stress can cause a condition known as subluxation. So Tyler, first of all, why don't you just briefly explain what a subluxation is for those of us that are not chiropractors?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the most important question
Yes.
because, and like you're saying, if you haven't been in the office before, this is a good opportunity, but this is an opportunity for our patients and ourselves, right? You don't preach the
Yes.
gospel to just other people, you preach it to yourself. So just kind of reiterating things and understanding subluxation is huge, because when you get what subluxation is, it's not about pain, it's about function.
Mm-hmm.
And so a subluxation is when a vertebral body misaligns and goes out of place, and that puts pressure onto your nerves, your discs, and most importantly, your spinal cord, where all function comes from.
Okay. And so why is understanding what subluxation is, why is understanding that important for our overall health?
Because subluxation can sometimes answer some of the hard questions of,
Right.
none of it's making sense. I've tried everything. I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the core of it, you want your body to be functioning and healing and adapting to the best it can. And a subluxation causes awry in all of that.
Yes.
So understanding subluxation, and a lot of people, when we start adjusting them, they're like, I'm becoming more body conscious. I'm becoming more understanding when I am subluxated. I can feel the difference in my body. I can feel my energy level shift. I can feel my gut started to hurt, my head started to hurt, brain fog. Like, I feel things going on. That's a warning signal, right? Symptoms are a warning signal that something's going wrong. And so understanding subluxation is good to just be body conscious and for your overall well-being.
Agreed, because it's like we don't know what we don't know, right? And so that's the point. And what we are trying to teach our patients at HFC is overall health. And so I always hear Dr. Michael and the other doctors say function over feeling, right? It is not, you could have a multitude of problems starting to fester, starting to take off, but you feel fine. And then all of a sudden, different symptoms start to pop out, throughout your life. And so I think we hear the word stress a lot in life, right? Like mental stress, physical stress, emotional stress. But how does stress in any of those types actually cause subluxation in the spine?
So stress is, and like you said, a lot of people have kind of use it as a general term. I'm stressed out, or
Right.
I got a lot of things going on, so I'm stressed. But stress can go on a deeper level. It can be things, like you said, that's been manifesting for years and years and years to become a symptom. And so stress, you've got your physical, you got your mental, and you got your chemical. Now, there's all other kinds of stress as
Right.
well, but those are the big three, and they really do kind of encapsulate everything else. So when it comes to physical, you move your body, right? When
Mm-hmm.
it's not moving, or when something happens and something tweaks or pulls out of place, it can subluxate you. When you're chemically stressed, and I know we're going to deep dive on that guy,
Yes.
but your nervous system only uses chemicals. So if there's chemicals that are coming into your body or that you're around, it can cause your nervous system to go imbalanced, which can push a bone out of place. A lot of people are like, well, how does a chemical stress push a bone out of
Mm-hmm.
place? Well, those nerves, everything underneath is so intricate that when it's under stress mode, right? I'll use the example of the garden hose later, but you pinch a garden hose real tight, what happens? It builds pressure and it
Yes.
could push things out. And the mental and chemical work hand in hand, because we know mental is all hormonal and
Right.
different types of hormones regulating. And so mental stress can also build pressure and cause a lot of things to start to go awry. I also want to preface too, I'm hearing it now. My voice sounds awful if you can't tell. I screamed at the Vols last Saturday and it's Thursday, and I still don't have my voice back. So I apologize for
No,
sounding awful right now.
no, you're good. You're good. I promise I cannot tell.
Okay.
Okay, so just to keep deep diving into that, for those of us, I'm including myself, when I say people experiencing constant stress, right? Whether from work, from home, whatever's going on, what might be some of the early signs that stress is affecting our spinal health?
I think just like we just talked about with people who are becoming more body conscious,
Right.
I know we're not talking about feeling, but when you don't feel right, like you don't feel yourself, and that a lot of times the first thing people feel is an energy shift. Like their
Mhm.
energy is not the same. They're getting more fatigued quicker in the day, or they wake up and they've got this intense brain fog, or you're just starting to see little things build on each other. Little aches and little body aches, joint aches, movement issues, range of motion issues. But I mean, it really it's such a broad way to say it, but it's just
Yes.
not feeling like yourself. Something's awry, and like we say, symptoms are always the last thing to come, first thing to go. And I know we'll talk about it later, but subluxation can happen and can be undetected for a long time
Yes.
because your body adapts to it. But even back then, when you're subluxated, like a baby, I know we won't hit babies for long because I
Okay.
know we talk about it every time because I love it. But a baby's subluxated when they're born, and like baby's not in pain,
Wow. Yeah.
but they have colic and they have developmental issues and they're not hitting benchmarks. Well, something's not right there.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
exactly. And I hear Dr. Michael say this, and you guys again say this all the time, that pain is not normal, right? Like
yeah.
you hear, we get patients coming into our office and saying, well, I typically get about 2 to 3 migraines a month, and I've lived with that for the last 5 years. Like that is not normal. Like, and
Mm.
we do not want that for our patients, right? To have to live like that and adapt to when those points in their life happen. And so that's why we do want you to come into the office, start your journey of overall health, so that way you can recognize these symptoms or these issues that are starting to just snowball.
Mhm.
And so that way you can relieve yourself of that, because feeling normal is way better than just having to live your life through any type of pain like that that's constant.
Yeah, and you said it, normal, not an abnormal normal.
Yes.
People make the abnormal their normal, so that's a great way to say it. Like we all know what our normal is, and anything that is not that
Right.
is a sign to go get your spine
Yes.
checked. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
I completely agree. And so, okay, next question. Why do subluxations often go unnoticed until they cause serious symptoms?
You were created by a almighty, all-knowing God who's really good at what he does. So he created our bodies to heal, to adapt, to respond to stress,
Mhm.
to always try to function to the best it can. So that's baseline. And so you can get subluxated and your body will begin hundreds of processes to protect that area. It'll compensate. It'll
Mhm.
physically change the way you move. It'll switch chemical processes and send them different routes or send them, different intensity of hormones or different signals going through. And so your body will adapt for a long time. So, and somebody told yesterday, she's 35 and low back pain. She says, been on and off my whole life. And then she came in an 11 out of 10 pain yesterday. She was like, how am I here?
Right.
Get back to normal like it always does? Because our bodies reach breaking points. There is a time in which it just will not adapt like it should, and that's what we do, is get the body back to adapting like it should.
And so going a step further into that last statement, for people who have never been to the chiropractor, especially, or even our patients who they come in, they're like, we know this helps, we feel better. Overall, we're doing great. But can you explain how the chiropractic adjustment relieves that subluxation from our spines?
Just like the total package
Yeah, give
adjustment,
us,
everything.
yeah. Give us the overall. Give us the overall.
Yeah, so that bone goes out of place and it puts pressure on the nerves, which causes dysfunction and symptoms. And we use very specific techniques. In our office, we do a lot of leg checks. Some people are always like, why are you always touching my feet? It's because we use your leg checks to see the different tension throughout your spine. We palpate a lot. We're pushing a lot of things, testing its motion. Sometimes symptoms do point back. Hey, my gut's been hurting. Probably an upper lumbar that you're struggling with. And so we put those guys back into place, which allows for that flow and function to come back normally, right? Restart those chemical processes, get them regulating normally again. And so we literally push those bones back into place. And sometimes that's with a super light move. Sometimes that's with an instrument. Sometimes that's a little more aggressive move, depending on who it is and what they need that day.
So you're telling me we're not just, we hear this all the time from patients, or especially new people coming into the office when they come in and they're like, "Hey, I need you to pop and crack my back. I need to hear that. I need a real good pop it." That's
Mm-hmm.
that's not what we're trying to that's not what we're getting, okay? What we're
Right.
talking about is the real deep dive into what is actually happening.
Yeah, a pop is just a release of a gas bubble under a
Yes.
joint. And that may or may not happen. There's a lot of adjustments that we can do. It will create no noise at all. And that doesn't mean an adjustment did or did not happen.
Yes.
We recheck you. We recheck how the body reacted to adjustments to confirm that those happen. We a lot of times, we do something called a toggle. If you've ever had it, it's my favorite adjustment. Is where you lay on your side to get your upper cervical adjusted. There's almost never, 99% that I've ever done, no cavitation was what we call it, a
Okay.
sound. But there's not many people that get up and be like, yeah, you didn't adjust me. You get a toggle, you're like, wow, that was something.
Yes.
So
Agreed. Agreed. And so are there specific, let's talk about this too. Are there specific long-term health benefits to correcting subluxations early? That's another part, educational piece that we want to share to our patients, right? Is we obviously want you coming into the office if there's something wrong. Like we do not want you walking around in pain at all, but we also want to help you not ever get to that point again, right? So what is the reasoning why not only we've helped relieve pain, get to the root cause of an issue, but now we are trying to not have that happen again?
yeah, I mean, the way we do care in office is through phases of spinal degeneration, and we do phases normal through phase 5. And somebody yesterday, 19-year-old, was a phase 2.5, and a phase 2.5 is 40 to 45 years of unmanaged stress on the spine. So a 19-year-old with 40 years of stress on their spine. And so she's 19 and she's having the issues that a 45-year-old would normally have, right?
Mhm.
So it's preventative. It's to prevent things. So the long-term thing is, one, to keep your spinal hygiene where it needs to be and keep it healthy so that things don't happen in the future. A lot of times things that we are managing are just long-term subluxation issues. It's stuff that they were checked when they were a kid, it probably wouldn't have gotten as far as it is.
Hmm.
And they're coming in at a phase 3 and they've had intense sciatic pain for 2 weeks, but they also have incontinence and they have trouble urinating. And they have trouble having a relationship with their wife. And like those kind of things are happening.
Yes.
And it's because of a nerve root issue that's causing sciatic pain, but it's also causing all these other health issues that might have been prevented if worked on at an earlier age.
Hmm. And what are some different ways to, if somebody wants to implement chiropractic care into their life? Obviously, coming into the office, getting adjusted is number one, right? That's huge. But what are some other ways that we share with our patients how they can incorporate the different, educational tools and pieces that we share with our patients in the office into their life?
Say that one more time, Caroline. I heard it, but
No, you're good. You're good. Okay. So, how can someone incorporate chiropractic care into their routine? And what does that look like preventatively? Okay, is that better?
I got you.
Okay.
I got you. It's different for everybody. It's always stress level. We usually do corrective care to start with people, but then we work into maintenance and wellness care.
Mhm.
So those wellness patients it's all about stress levels. I always tell people if you've got super high stress levels, because stress is what causes subluxation, you might need to get checked on a more normal basis. If you've got super low stress levels, you might be able to fan it off a little bit longer. Somebody just finished corrective care here, and they said, you know what, I still work is stressful, finances are a little tough right now, and very physically demanding job. And they were like, can I come in once a week and get checked? I said, absolutely, no problem. Because guess what? We can check you and not adjust you. We could check you and say, hey, actually, you're good to go today.
Right.
Don't get adjusted today. Like that happens. And that's actually what we want is we want people that are coming in on such a normal basis and we're like, hey, actually, you don't need an adjustment
You're
today.
holding today.
Your
Let's,
body's at ease right now. And so that's how you can incorporate. It's like going to get your oil change. Everybody gets their oil changed every 3 to 5 thousand miles. Whether or not you hear something going on with the car or not,
yes.
you're going to get it changed for maintenance. And that's the same thing with spinal hygiene is doing it when there is nothing wrong to just keep it maintained over time.
Hmm. And why don't you explain too, because I do love the garden hose analogy of that's that's the good part that we want you to be at, right? We want you to be in maintenance. We want you to be maintaining your health. We want to see just positive results on an uptick slide. But then on the flip side, what can that look like internally? And then it can start to come out in physical symptoms if you don't maintain that health.
Yeah, so I wrote down an example of something we see here, and it's a woman that's coming that's having trouble getting pregnant,
Hmm.
and that's a very tough thing
Yeah.
to deal with, and I know it hurts a lot of people, and so when we see the Lord restore that through chiropractic, it's such an amazing thing. So let's say a woman comes in that's having trouble getting pregnant. So with the water hose example, we're going to be checking a lot of the lower spine, a lot of those nerves that connect to the uterine lining and connect to all those parts, but we're also going to check the upper neck. What we see a lot, the reason that they're there, where the disconnect might be, is the hormones are not getting from the brain to the uterine lining, and there's a disconnect there. And so let's say L4 is the main issue in the low back and your garden hose and that garden hose is pinched at the L4.
Hmm.
Think about all of the hormones that are trying to get from your brain to that L4 and it's pinched right there so it can't get there properly.
Right.
So now what happens? Where does that water go? It
Yeah.
just builds pressure there, and then right? That's when we get low back pain.
Yes.
However, what the body will do over time is instead of just sending all these hormones there that aren't going anywhere, the body will say, well, let's just stop making the hormones.
Right.
If they're not going anywhere, let's just stop making them. And, women come in and they're like, well, we got my LH, my FSH, my oestradiol that is all low. My hormones are low and they've got no answers for me. And they get adjusted, and all of a sudden, these hormone levels are going back to normal, which allows them to get pregnant. It's because that brain to uterine lining connection is back. And that's what happens a lot throughout the body. Any other condition you can
Right.
think about, that general example is the body will try to send these signals and not going there. So the body says, hey, we don't need to make these anymore. And that's when it gets decreased. Melatonin is a great example, right? It's the
Yes.
sleep hormone. People have trouble sleep and they get better quality sleep after getting adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
That melatonin that needs to go to all the organs to say, hey, let's all calm down and relax and rest. And there's a blockage right here at C1. So that hormone's not getting to the body. So the body says, well, let's produce less melatonin. Now you don't sleep as good.
Yes. That's wild. And I love the sheet that we have in the office that shows the spine and how it's connected to all the different nerves and what the nerves then go to. Because when you are able to visualize that the spine is what connects everything and pushes it out to where it needs to go, I think that's such a good reminder, that our whole entire body is connected like that. And that's what I love about chiropractic care, because sometimes, just like you said, a woman comes in with this one issue, and maybe an outside doctor is just focusing on this one issue and why it's not working. But then when they come into our office, you're looking at the body as a whole and how it's all functioning together.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a huge difference and that's how everybody should be looking at care and looking at our body,
Right.
And so, okay, what advice do you have for someone who is considering chiropractic care but feels unsure about taking the first step?
What advice do I have?
If
Give it a
you've
shot.
got one of your friends is in front of you and they're like, man, Dr. Tyler, I don't know. Maybe I should come. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not really old enough. Like I'm not having any issues. What would you tell them?
Well, if it was my friend, what I always
Yes.
say, because some of my friends call me a witch doctor sometimes, and I love that because I'm like, well, whatever you got to call me
Yes.
that. I always say, do you want to function better? That's the first question I ask them. Do you want to function better?
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes into the conversation of, what do you mean? How would I function better? I don't have any pain. I've never had any low back pain or neck pain. Well, have you had this, or this? Well, I do have some of that struggle there. Well, here's what those nerves do, and here's how it controls that area. And so it's once again, we're going to the holistic right here, and it's if you want your whole body to function at a better ability, it's always important to get your spine checked in order to do that.
I love that. That's what we need to be sharing, right? Is just treating everybody like they're our friends, because sometimes we'll just come out and say it to our friends versus if a stranger comes to me and asks me about chiropractic care, you just don't know their background, their preconceived notions, that kind of thing. But then I think when you start sharing these personal stories too of, well, my kids are, 9, 8, and 6, and we've not been to a medical doctor or any kind of doctor office aside from our chiropractor in over 3.5 years.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, we go see Dr. Tyler, we go see Dr. Michael, we go, and that's our well visit. That's how we keep ourselves healthy. And I think just being able to share those personal stories are just so relatable that's where that connection hits home as well,
Absolutely. And I think I've gotten to a place now over the years, when I started care, I was, I guess, a little more professional is how you would say it,
Yes.
a little more like tight knitted and trying to be kind of too much with my words.
Yeah.
And I'm not good with my words. I'm not at the core, but the Lord used a donkey to talk to people. So over time, I've just tried to treat people like my friends and just try to just be straight up with them, be genuine with them.
Yep.
And usually that's what encourages people, because, and we're a family practice, and, maybe our reports are a little bit more tight knit, but after that, we're just hanging out with you, and we're just trying to help you get healthy. And I love that that's the energy that we have at our offices. And I think that's what helps bring a lot of people in, is that we're not a doctor's office at all. We don't put that energy in here at all. Michaela, one of our interns, her mom was here this morning, and she was like, you've got open floor. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. I said, we don't want rooms. We don't want people to walk into
Yes,
these and sit down in this cold, dark little office and be scared for the
exactly.
doctor to walk in. I want to see you across the office and wave at you, say good morning, and then get you adjusted and send you on your way. So, yeah, I think that's changed a little bit over the years how I
Of that.
approach it now.
It is wild. I mean, you think about that. Like for me, my kids don't even know that. They don't know the scary, stuffy doctor's office stories that, I had as a kid. They're like, dude, we're going to run in, go see, Dr. Tyler, give him like the craziest hassle and run around and be psycho for 5 minutes. And then we're getting stickers from Kelly and we're out the door.
Right, right, right. That's the energy that we want people to experience when they're at the office. So that's awesome.
And okay, to wrap everything up, why don't you explain, because we're coming into November, the holidays are here. I don't know how that's happened, but it has. And so
Christmas.
it's wild. Why don't you share a little bit about our patient giveaway that's coming up for November that we're putting in the newsletter? Because I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's going to be
absolutely.
huge
So,
for everybody to know about.
yeah, yeah. Me and Noel were working on that this morning.
Yes.
So because of COVID, things we got a little shaky in the world during that time, and we didn't hold back on the education and the stuff that we were putting out. And thankfully people are understanding why that education was so important then,
Yes.
especially now. And so we were posting about holistic ways to empower your immune system,
Mm-hmm.
natural ways to empower your immune
Yes.
system. And that might have caused a little rift in the WHO, World Health Organization, and Facebook and all that. And so they put a lot of restrictions on us because we were spreading not big pharma kind of information, which we're proud of. So,
Yes, we are.
but but that's made it hard to be able to continue to post, and it's made it hard to be able to continue to get that information out and stay connected with our patients and do those kind of things. And so we are moving on to our new Facebook page with no restrictions and to give back to our patients as well and helping us do this. We're doing a giveaway. We're giving out a prizes. I think it's an hour massage,
Yes.
$100 off products,
Yes.
and what kind of stove?
A solo stove.
A
Do you know
solo
do you know
stove.
what a solo stove is?
I bought 3 for Christmases.
Oh, they're my favorite. For all the moms or like females out there, it's smokeless, which I'm a fan of because Ryan will ask all the time, "Do you want to sit by the bonfire?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to get smoky and I got to wash my hair." But with this, it's smokeless. It's awesome. It's compact. You can pack it up, take it wherever you're going. And I think the patients are going to love it.
Yeah, I do too. And so all we're asking to even get entered for that is
Mhm.
just like the new page,
Yes.
invite your friends to it, and then post a review or feedback or video testimonial of what chiropractic has done for your life, what HFC has helped do, and that's all we ask. And we'll put you in that drawing and give away. But that's kind of a help us help you kind of deal. Give you some really cool things, but also just say thank you and help us get this transition because it's not a fun transition to do this kind of thing, but it's just necessary right now, and it's going to
Agreed.
help us in the future.
Yes. And then the last thing I do want to share is we are also for Christmas time going to be partnering with the Isaiah 117 houses in
Mhm.
Morristown and in Knoxville. And so, just as another way that HFC and our patients can give back in your November newsletter, there will be a detailed list of items, brand new items that you can go and purchase and then drop off at any of the 4 office locations. And so for Christmas, we are going to be loving on those children that will be in the Isaiah 117 homes during Christmas time. And so just putting a bug in your ear early that you can start shopping for those items and dropping them off at any of our office locations. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And can I give one quick plug?
yes.
So with what we've been talking about today, we do a really deep dive at our Better Results Faster workshop. So if you're a patient that's been here for 18 years, or you just started, or you're not a patient, we do these workshops twice a month, one at lunch and one at dinner. But when it comes to the stress realm, you're like, well, what are some specific chemical stressors I need to look at, or mental stressors, or physical? How can I make changes? We talk about all that at the workshop, because that's one of the things we talk about on our three-legged stool: adjustments in rhythm, breaking bad habits, and corrective exercises. And so that breaking bad habits is part of that stress that we're talking about. So if you have any deeper questions on that or want to know more, get signed up for one of those classes in the office. They've been really awesome, and we've got really good response. We did a 25-minute workshop last week, and then I had a 10-minute conversation with a mom who was like, what are some of the things I need to be looking out for my kids, and those kind of things. And it's just really fruitful. So make sure to get signed up. We do them twice a month, every office for eternity. So get signed up.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Tyler, for taking part of your lunch to be with us today. It was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of your great knowledge about subluxations with us.
Thank you so much for having me back. I guess I'll be seeing you soon on these guys, right?
Yes, next week, friend. You're helping me out again. Let's go.
But it's not going to be me. It's going to be Katie, right?
Dr. Katie will be on here next week with us. We're going to be pulling all of our doctors in from the office, which I think is amazing, to be sharing their knowledge when it comes to the Dirty Dozen topics.
Yeah, and everybody's going to get to hear from Dr. Cody, and then Dr. Michaela, our intern as well. She's going to be on one of those podcasts, so that's going to be cool.
I love it. Well, thank you again. Thank you, listeners. Do not forget 47 special. Call into any of our offices. Get plugged in. We would love to have you. And until next time, thanks, Dr. Tyler.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Caroline.
If you want to achieve optimal health and make a huge impact on lives around the world, listen up. Exposing your worth, value, and significance is the heart behind Redeem Essentials. What you may not know is how far that statement goes. When you purchase from Redeem Essentials, 10% of that money goes to our partner, Matthew 10 International, which works tirelessly to bring freedom, both spiritually and physically, to folks around the world who are desperately in need. Exposing their worth, value, and significance. Your relationship with Redeem Essentials no longer impacts you alone. Now you have the opportunity to make a massive impact on people's lives everywhere. Redeem Essentials. Your choice, their freedom.